Some muscle cars get all the attention, but the rarest GM muscle cars are the real hidden gems. These beasts were built in tiny numbers, packed with big power, and are nearly impossible to find today. Let's take a look at the rarest and most legendary GM machines ever made. Number 15, 1989. Pontiac Turbo Trans Am, 20th anniversary. The 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am 20th anniversary is one of the rarest performance cars ever built, with only 1,555 units produced. Even more exclusive are the 40 hardtops and just 3 convertibles, making them nearly impossible to find today. What makes this Trans Am truly special is its power. Pontiac took the legendary Buick 232 cubic inch turbocharged V6 and dropped it into a sleeker, more aerodynamic body, creating a car that outperformed some of the fastest sports cars of its time. This special edition Trans Am was chosen as the Indianapolis 500 pace car for 1989, and it wasn't just for show. It came with a Garrett iResearch T3 turbocharger, an intercooler mounted behind the radiator, and a sequential fuel injection system. Officially, Pontiac rated it at 250 horsepower at 4,400 revolutions per minute and 340 pound-feet of torque at 2,800 revolutions per minute. But real-world tests suggested the actual number was closer to 300 horsepower. With its 4-speed Turbo Hydromatic T 200R4 automatic transmission and a launch-friendly 232 cubic inch V6, this car was seriously quick. On the drag strip, the Turbo Trans Am hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds and finished the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at 101 miles per hour. Back in 1989, it was the fastest producing car sold in the United States, outpacing even exotic sports cars. With no speed limiter, it could push all the way to 153 miles per hour, a number unheard of for a Pontiac Trans Am at the time. To handle the speed, Pontiac gave it larger 11.9-inch front brake rotors with twin piston calipers, replacing the smaller 10.5-inch rotors found on regular models. The suspension was also upgraded with deflected disc gas-filled shocks, stiff coil springs, and thick anti-roll bars for stability. It rode on 16-inch aluminum wheels, wrapped in Goodyear Gatorback tires, delivering excellent grip. Lighter than a V8 Trans Am by about 100 pounds, this turbocharged version handled better and was quicker than anything Pontiac had ever built. Today, this special 20th anniversary Turbo Trans Am remains one of the greatest and rarest performance cars ever made. Number 14, 1986, Chevrolet Monte Carlo, SS Aerocoupe. The 1986 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Aerocoupe is one of the rarest muscle cars of the 1980s, with only 200 ever built. Chevrolet designed it specifically for NASCAR, meaning they had to produce just enough road-going versions to meet racing requirements. This car was based on the regular Monte Carlo SS, but had one big difference: a panoramic fastback-style rear window that improved aerodynamics on high-speed tracks. This unique design made the 1986 model extremely special, as production in 1987 jumped to over 6,000, making the first-year version the hardest to find today. Even though the Aerocoupe looked more aggressive, it shared the same 305 cubic inch V8 engine with the standard SS. This small block Chevrolet V8 produced 180 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission. By the standards of the 1960s muscle cars, this wasn't a powerhouse, but back in 1986, it was still a strong performer. Plus, with its NASCAR roots, it had something those old muscle cars didn't: a body built for slicing through the air at high speeds. Chevrolet didn't just change the rear window and call it a day. The Aerocoupe came with a race-inspired rear spoiler, a performance axle, and the F41 Sport suspension, which made it handle better than the regular Monte Carlo. It rolled on 15-inch alloy wheels wrapped in radial tires, giving it a more planted feel on the road. Inside, it had an upgraded gauge cluster with a tachometer, a sports steering wheel, and comfortable cloth bucket seats. Despite its performance focus, it was still well equipped with features like air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, power windows, power locks, a remote mirror, cruise control, tilt steering, and an AM/FM cassette player. Because Chevrolet only needed to build 200 of these for NASCAR homologation, they didn't make a single extra unit. That means if you own a 1986 Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe, you have one of the most exclusive muscle cars of its time. While the 1987 model year saw a big jump in production, the 1986 version remains the true collector's piece, representing a time when NASCAR and street performance were closely connected. If you love watching the series of rarest and other amazing cars, then do like and subscribe to the channel. Number 13, 1987, Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe. The 1987 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe is a true collector's gem, with only 6,052 ever made. This was the second and final year of Aero Coupe production, making it much more common than the ultra-rare 1986 version, which had only 200 units. Chevrolet built this car to qualify for NASCAR, which required a certain number of street versions to be sold. The biggest change from the standard Monte Carlo SS was its huge sloped rear glass, designed to make the car more aerodynamic at high speeds. With this slick design, the Monte Carlo dominated on the track, winning 18 races that season compared to 14 the year before. At its heart, the Aero Coupe came with a 305 cubic inch V8 engine, also known as a 305 cubic inch small block V8. It produced 180 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission with overdrive. While not the fastest car of its time, it had plenty of muscle, capable of pushing speeds over 115 miles per hour. The body-on-frame construction made it tough, while the F41 heavy-duty suspension improved handling. It rolled on a 108-inch wheelbase, with disc brakes in the front and drum brakes in the rear to keep it under control. The Aero Coupe wasn't just about performance. It had plenty of style, too. The wraparound rear glass gave it a distinct fastback look, while a shorter trunk and rear spoiler helped with aerodynamics. Chevrolet moved production of the 1987 models from Arlington, Texas to Pontiac, Michigan, with the final touches being handled by Cars and Concepts in Brighton, Michigan. The 15-inch alloy wheels looked great, and the interior was just as impressive. Drivers got an upgraded gauge cluster with a tachometer, a sports steering wheel, and comfortable seating. It also came with modern conveniences like air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, power windows, power locks, cruise control, tilt steering, and an AM/FM cassette player. After 1987, the Aero Coupe was gone, and the Monte Carlo itself disappeared after 1988. It returned in 1995, but it was never the same. The Aero Coupe remains a rare piece of NASCAR history, built for speed but made for the streets. Number 12, 1985, Oldsmobile 442. The 1985 Oldsmobile 442 was a rare machine, with only 3,000 produced in its first year. Over the next 3 years, Oldsmobile made just over 10,000 of these performance cars before ending production in 1987. This was the last time a rear-wheel drive 442 rolled off the factory line, marking the end of an era. It was based on the Cutlass Salon Coupe, the most luxurious trim in the lineup, but Oldsmobile gave it extra muscle and aggressive styling to bring back the legendary 442 name. The 442 badge had a meaning. This time, it stood for a 4-speed automatic transmission, a 4-barrel carburetor, and dual exhausts. Power came from a 307 cubic inch V8, which delivered 180 horsepower and 245 pound-feet of torque. It was paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission and a 3.7 3-to-1 rear axle ratio for better acceleration. While it wasn't the fastest car of its time, Oldsmobile focused on making it a balanced machine with improved handling and a smooth ride. It featured a performance-tuned suspension and rolled on 15-inch chrome and gold wheels wrapped in Goodyear Eagle GT white letter performance tires. The 442 had a bold look that stood out from the crowd. Every car featured a silver metallic lower body separated by a gold accent stripe. In its first year, it was available in white, medium gray metallic, and black. Inside, the driver was treated to a leather-wrapped steering wheel, full-gauge cluster, and bucket seats. The car also had modern conveniences like power windows, a power seat, cruise control, tilt steering, a power antenna, and tinted glass. In 1986, production increased to 4,273 units, and new colors like dark teal, blue metallic, and burgundy metallic were introduced. The 1987 model, now based on the Cutlass Supreme, had 4,208 units built. The final models had updated composite headlamps and reshaped grills. By 1988, the rear-wheel drive Cutlass was gone, making the 442 a true classic, one of the last of its kind. Number 11, 1986, Pontiac Grand Prix 2+2. The 1986 Pontiac Grand Prix 2+2 is one of the rarest muscle cars of its time, with only 1,225 ever built. This limited production makes it a true collector's item, and finding one today in good condition is a rare sight. Pontiac designed this car to be a NASCAR-inspired street machine, similar to the Chevrolet Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, with a focus on aerodynamics and performance. However, despite its racing roots, it was not a big success in the market, making it even rarer today. At the heart of the Grand Prix, 2+2 was a 305 cubic inch LG4 V8, producing 180 horsepower and 245 pound-feet of torque. This was paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission, making it easy for any driver to enjoy. The car featured rear-wheel drive and could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 9.3 seconds, with a top speed of 122 miles per hour. While it wasn't the fastest muscle car of the decade, it was built for stability and handling, especially at high speeds on oval tracks. Pontiac gave the 2+2 a bold and unique design. The car had a distinct fastback-style rear window, designed to improve aerodynamics for NASCAR racing. However, this feature had downsides, like making the trunk opening very small and causing heat buildup in the rear seats. Many dealerships struggled to sell these cars, as they were priced about $2,000 more than the Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, making it hard for them to move off the lot. In fact, most of them were sold at factory auctions, rather than directly to customers. Even though it wasn't a big hit when new, the Grand Prix 2+2 has become a fascinating piece of automotive history. It represents a time when car makers were still trying to bring racing technology to the streets. With such low production numbers and its NASCAR-inspired design, this Pontiac stands out as one of the rarest muscle cars of the 1980s, a true gem for collectors today. Number 10, 1983 to 84, Oldsmobile Hearst Olds. The 1983 to 1984. Oldsmobile Hearst Olds is a true collector's gem. Oldsmobile produced just 3,000 units in 1983 and increased production to 3,500 in 1984. This limited-run muscle car was built on the Cutlass Supreme, the last midsize Oldsmobile with rear-wheel drive, making it the brand's final true muscle car of that era. Powering this special edition was a 307 cubic inch V8 engine, delivering 180 horsepower. It was not the fastest car of its time, but it had an impressive acceleration, reaching 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 8 seconds. What made it truly stand out was the Hearst Lightning Rod Shifter, a unique triple lever setup. While it was an automatic transmission, these shifters allowed for manual gear selection of first and second gears, giving drivers a race-inspired feel. The Hearst Olds was not just about performance. It also had a bold and aggressive design. The 1983 model featured a black body with silver lower panels accented by red striping. In 1984, Oldsmobile flipped the colors, making the body silver with black lower panels while keeping the red accents. The car also had a special front air dam, a rear pedestal spoiler, and a bolt-on hood scoop, though the scoop was purely for looks and not functional. It rolled on 15-inch chrome superstock wheels, which had a classic Oldsmobile design similar to the 1969 Hearst Olds. These wheels had silver accents and a red pinstripe around the rim, matching the overall sporty look. The Hurst Olds also came fully loaded with features, including air conditioning, power brakes, power steering, a T-top roof, power windows and locks, cruise control, and a Delco cassette stereo. These additions made it not just a muscle car, but also a comfortable ride for everyday driving. With its limited production, powerful V8 engine, unique lightning rod shifter, and head-turning design, the 1983 to 1984 Oldsmobile Hurst Olds remains a rare and highly desirable piece of muscle car history. Number 9, 1980 Oldsmobile 442 W30. The 1980 Oldsmobile W30 is one of the rarest muscle cars of its time, with only 886 units built. It was based on the Cutlass Calais notchback, but unlike other Cutlass models, it came with a 348 cubic inch V8 engine that was not available on any other version. This powerful Oldsmobile engine made the 442 stand out, as smaller engines like the 140 cubic inch V6 and the Chevrolet 183 cubic inch V8 were no longer an option. The 442 W30 had a sporty look with a gold accent paint scheme, and it was only available in black with gold or white with gold. Out of the total production, 540 were black, and 346 were white. The W30 badging on the front fenders, just above the side marker lights, gave the car a signature look. Unlike past models, the graphics were less aggressive, making it look cleaner but still bold. It had a painted grille face, aluminum sport wheels, body-colored tail lamp bezels, and rear window moldings. The 442 emblem was proudly displayed on the sail panel and deck lid, marking its place in Oldsmobile's performance lineup. This car was not just about looks. It came with the Rally suspension package, offering better handling and control. The Sport Console added to the driver-focused experience, while the P205x70 R14 steel-belted radial tires with raised white letters gave it a classic muscle car stance. It even included a digital clock, a small but modern touch for the time. Priced at $6,919.57, this was a special edition package that could not be ordered in California. Today, it remains a rare and desirable piece of Oldsmobile history. The 1980 Oldsmobile 442 W30 was a unique combination of style, power, and exclusivity, making it a standout muscle car from its era. Number 8, 1984. Pontiac Fiero Indy Pace Car Edition. The 1984 Pontiac Fiero Indy Pace Car Edition is a rare and special piece of automotive history. Only 2,000 of these unique cars were ever built, making them highly collectible today. This was the first time a four-cylinder car had paced the Indianapolis 500 since a Stoddard Dayton did it in 1914, making it a significant milestone for Pontiac. Every Indy Fiero came in white paint with a distinctive aero body kit featuring front and rear fascias that would later be used on the 1985 Fiero GT. It had a sleek and futuristic design, capturing the spirit of a true performance car. All 2,000 production cars were powered by a 153 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, producing 92 horsepower. Buyers could choose between a 3-speed automatic transmission or a 4-speed manual transmission. Pontiac built a few prototype versions fitted with a periscope-style air intake, which rose up from the engine bay and curved over the roof. However, only the 3 actual pace cars used in the 1984 Indianapolis 500 had this feature. These official race cars were equipped with a 165 cubic inch Super Duty engine, which produced 232 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. Pontiac's lead engineer, John Callies, was chosen to drive one of them during the event. The Fiero itself was a huge success in its first year, with sales surpassing 100,000 units. Though later models introduced upgrades like a more powerful V6 engine, 5-speed manual transmission, and improved suspension, the Indy Pace Car Edition remains a standout. Its unique design, connection to the legendary Indianapolis 500, and limited production make it one of the most desirable Fiero models ever made. With its striking white paint, bold aero styling, and racing heritage, the 1984 Pontiac Fiero Indy Pace Car Edition is a true collector's dream, an iconic car that represents a bold era in Pontiac's history. Number 7, 1989, Chevrolet Corvette. The 1989 Chevrolet Corvette was a true American sports car with 26,412 units produced. It carried the legacy of Corvette's high performance, sharp styling, and advanced technology. This model offered both coupe and convertible options, giving drivers the thrill of top-down cruising or the sleek appeal of a closed-body design with a removable roof panel for an open-air feel. Under the sleek fiberglass body, every Corvette came with a 348 cubic inch V8 engine with tuned port fuel injection, delivering 245 horsepower in the coupe and 240 horsepower in the convertible. The car introduced Moltec fuel injectors, setting the stage for future improvements. For the first time, a 6-speed manual transmission was offered at no extra cost, featuring computer-aided gear selection for smooth shifting. A 4-speed automatic transmission remained standard. Corvette's Bosch ABS2 anti-lock braking system provided incredible stopping power, adjusting brake pressure up to 15 times per second to keep the car stable under hard braking. The four-wheel independent suspension featured fiberglass composite transverse springs, along with Delco Bilstein gas-charged shocks for a more precise ride. The Z51 Performance Handling Package, available for the coupe, added heavy-duty suspension components, cooling upgrades, and a 3.5 4-to-1 rear axle ratio for a more track-focused experience. The aerodynamic body featured 17-inch cast aluminum wheels wrapped in Goodyear Eagle tires, retractable halogen headlamps, and a frameless rear hatch with multiple remote releases. Corvette's base coat clear coat paint system gave it a deep, lasting shine. The convertible version was built with aerodynamic styling, a manually operated top, and 3 color options: black, white, or saddle. Inside, the Corvette was both luxurious and driver-focused, featuring sport cloth bucket seats, with optional leather seats and power-adjustable sport seats. The digital and analog instrument panels provided real-time driving data, while features like air conditioning, power windows, power door locks, power mirrors, and a tilt telescopic steering wheel made every drive comfortable. Corvette remained a racing icon, winning multiple championships and proving its dominance on the road. Number 6, 1987 Buick GNX. The Buick GNX is one of the rarest and most powerful cars of its time. Only 547 units were ever built in 1987, making it a true collector's item. This car wasn't just another muscle car. It was a game changer. Buick engineers had been working on turbocharging their V6 engine since 1982, and after years of improvements, they created the GNX, a car that shocked the entire industry. It came with a 232 cubic inch turbocharged V6 engine, producing an advertised 276 horsepower and a massive 360 pound-feet of torque. But real-world numbers were even higher, pushing well over 300 horsepower. The GNX was insanely fast, reaching 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds and running a quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at 104 miles per hour. That kind of speed made it quicker than a Ford Mustang GT, Chevrolet Camaro IROC Z, Chevrolet Corvette, and even the legendary Ferrari Testarossa. It could almost match a Porsche 911 Turbo in a straight line. This car was the ultimate version of the Buick Grand National, which started in 1984 with a turbocharged V6 engine. Over the years, horsepower kept increasing, from 200 in 1984 and 85 to 230 in 1986, and finally 240 in 1987. But the GNX took things to the next level, with an upgraded turbocharger, intercooler, better engine heads, improved exhaust, and a tougher suspension system. The GNX was not just about raw power. It had sequential fuel injection and a computer-controlled ignition, advanced technology for its time. It was expensive too, costing $29,000. But some owners reportedly paid off their cars by racing them. The GNX was only available for 1 year, making it one of the rarest and most sought-after muscle cars ever made. Today, it stands as a legend, an American icon that proved a V6 engine could dominate the streets. Number 5, 1983. Chevrolet Corvette. The 1983 Chevrolet Corvette is a car that never officially existed, yet it remains one of the most fascinating stories in Corvette history. A total of 43 prototype and pre-production cars were built, but none were sold to the public. All were eventually scrapped, except for one, which survives today and is proudly displayed at the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green. This generation of Corvette, known as the C4, was originally intended for release in 1983, but delays pushed its official launch to 1984. That meant all Corvettes produced during this time were technically serialized as 1984 models, making the 1983 Corvette a ghost in the automotive world. This Corvette featured a brand new design that was a major leap forward. It introduced a frameless glass hatchback, offering improved storage access. Unlike earlier Corvettes that used fiberglass, this model was made with reaction-injected molding plastics and a sheet molding compound, giving it a more modern and aerodynamic look. Inside, the Corvette was packed with futuristic technology. It came standard with an electronic dashboard, featuring digital liquid crystal displays for speed and RPM, a bold step ahead of its time. The car also had all-new brakes with aluminum calipers, ensuring precise stopping power. When it finally launched as the 1984 Corvette, it was praised as the best-handling Corvette ever built. The engineers focused on performance and handling, making it a true sports car, though the ride was stiff, and the unit body frame led to rattles and squeaks. The deep door sills meant getting in and out felt more like climbing than stepping. The C4. Corvette came with a Doug Nash 4+3 transmission, a unique setup combining a 4-speed manual with an automatic overdrive on the top 3 gears. This gave the car solid acceleration while maintaining efficiency. Later, this was replaced with the modern 6-speed manual for even better performance. Though the 1983 Corvette never officially hit the streets, its design, technology, and innovations paved the way for the C4 generation, making it one of the rarest and most legendary Corvettes ever built. Number 4, 1985 Chevrolet Corvette. The 1985 Chevrolet Corvette was a game-changer in the world of sports cars. With a total of 39,729 units built, this model was all about performance, technology, and cutting-edge aerodynamics. Every single one was a coupe, designed to be both thrilling on the curves and comfortable for daily driving. Sleek, sharp, and wind-cutting. This Corvette had a drag coefficient of 0.323, making it the most aerodynamic Corvette up to that point. The design was refined in wind tunnels, with a 64-degree windshield rake and hidden headlights that flipped open at precisely 162.5 degrees. It had flush-mounted fog lamps, electrically adjustable twin sport mirrors, and a frameless rear hatch window, which not only looked modern but made loading cargo easier. The removable one-piece roof gave it a semi-convertible feel, paying homage to classic open-air sports cars. Inside, this Corvette was packed with advanced technology. The electronic dashboard featured liquid crystal displays, giving real-time updates on speed, engine revolutions, fuel consumption, trip mileage, oil pressure, oil temperature, and voltage. A built-in photoelectric sensor adjusted brightness automatically for day or night driving. The driver information system also alerted the driver about unfastened seatbelts, low brake pressure, open doors, or an activated parking brake. Even the anti-theft system reminded owners to lock their cars when leaving. The interior was all about high performance and comfort. Custom sport seats came with power-adjustable bolsters, lumbar support, and seat ventilation. The 6-way power-adjustable driver's seat allowed precise movement in 6 points: 5 inches forward and backward, 1.5 inches up and down, and customizable seat angles. Leather seat options added a touch of luxury, and the car's advanced paint system ensured a flawless, dust-free finish. Buyers could even choose a two-tone metallic color scheme, with options like silver over gray, blue over blue, or bronze over bronze. Fast, aerodynamic, and loaded with futuristic features, the 1985 Chevrolet Corvette set a new standard for American sports cars. Number 3, 1980, Pontiac Firebird Formula Turbo. The 1980 Pontiac Firebird Formula Turbo is one of the rarest second-generation Firebirds, with only 9,356 units ever made. While the Trans Am grabbed all the attention with its flashy looks, the Formula Turbo offered the same 300 cubic inch turbocharged V8 engine, but in a more refined and understated package. This particular formula is a true survivor, with only 68,244 original miles, making it a rare find from an era when performance cars were starting to fade. Finished in Tahoe blue, this car stands out for all the right reasons. Unlike the over-the-top styling of the Trans Am, the Formula Turbo keeps things clean and classy, with a power dome hood instead of the exaggerated scoops seen on other models. The original contrasting blue decals blend perfectly with the lower bodywork and the urethane nose cone, creating a subtle but aggressive look. The rear bumper and all the exterior details are in excellent shape, showing how well this car has been taken care of over the years. Inside, the blue cloth interior is completely original and well preserved. The classic engine-turned dashboard, three-spoke steering wheel, and center console give it that performance look, while features like factory air conditioning, power windows, power locks, and T-tops make it feel luxurious and modern for its time. It even has an AM/FM cassette stereo, a rare option back then. The turbocharged V8 delivers 200 horsepower and 340 pounds of torque, making it a strong performer. The TH350 automatic transmission keeps the power flowing smoothly, and a Flowmaster exhaust system gives it a deep, throaty sound. This Formula Turbo is a rare piece of Pontiac history, built for true enthusiasts. Number 2, 1982 Chevrolet Corvette Collector's Edition. The 1982 Chevrolet Corvette Collector's Edition was a special send-off for the third-generation Corvette. Chevrolet built exactly 25,407 Corvettes that year, but only 1/4 of them were the exclusive Collector's Edition models. This car was not just another Corvette, it was a unique blend of style, technology, and exclusivity, designed to mark the end of an era. One of the biggest highlights of the Collector's Edition Corvette was the introduction of a frameless rear glass hatchback, a first for any Corvette. Unlike previous models with a fixed rear window, this feature made accessing the cargo area much easier. This design element would later become a standard feature on all Corvettes that followed. Chevrolet also made sure that this edition was hard to fake by adding unique identification plates, preventing people from turning standard models into knockoffs. The car came in a special silver beige metallic paint with shadow-like striping across the hood, fenders, and doors, giving it a sleek and distinctive look. It featured bronze-tinted glass T-tops, adding to its stylish appearance. The wheels were finned turbine alloy wheels, similar to those first seen on the legendary 1963 split-window Stingray. Inside, the Collector's Edition Corvette was just as special. The cabin was wrapped in silver beige leather upholstery, including the door panels and steering wheel. The steering wheel was hand-stitched in matching leather, including a special horn cap. The car also had cloisonné emblems, with a crossed flag logo on the hood that read Corvette Collector Edition, along with additional emblems on the rear deck and steering wheel. Powering this Collector's Edition Corvette was a 348 cubic inch L83 V8 engine with crossfire fuel injection, producing 200 horsepower. It was paired with a new automatic overdrive transmission, making it both powerful and smooth to drive. With its exclusive design, historical importance, and limited production, the 1982 Chevrolet Corvette Collector's Edition was more than just a car. It was a true farewell to an iconic generation and a glimpse into the future of the Corvette legacy. Number 1, 1981. Pontiac Firebird, Trans Am, NASCAR Turbo Special Edition. The 1981 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. NASCAR Turbo Special Edition was one of the last great muscle cars of its era. With just over 2,000 units built, this car was a special tribute to Pontiac's racing heritage. It was created to celebrate the brand's involvement in American motorsports, following in the footsteps of the 1980 Trans Am Indy Pace car. Both models had nearly identical designs, featuring a bold black over white paint scheme and exclusive performance upgrades. Underneath its aggressive look, the 1981 NASCAR Edition Trans Am came with a 300 cubic inch turbocharged V8 engine. This motor delivered 210 horsepower and a strong 345 pound-feet of torque, making it a solid performer for the time. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a 3-speed automatic transmission, which was standard on this special edition. The turbocharged engine was not as large as the legendary 455 cubic inch V8 found in older Trans Ams, but it still provided an exciting driving experience. The exterior design was just as striking as its performance. This final year second-generation Firebird received an updated hood decal, giving it a fresh yet familiar look. Every Firebird from this year also featured an embossed silver Firebird decal on the fuel cap, which blended seamlessly with the rear taillights. On the special edition Trans Ams, this emblem was finished in gold, adding an extra touch of exclusivity. Pontiac also made some changes to its features and options in 1981. The G80 limited slip differential, which had been standard for nearly 10 years on all Trans Am models, was now an extra cost option. This was a sign of things to come as Pontiac prepared for the launch of the third-generation Firebird, where the G80 would no longer be included as a standard feature. This Trans Am NASCAR Turbo Special Edition was a rare and exciting send-off for the second-generation Firebird. With its bold styling, turbocharged power, and racing-inspired design, it remains a highly sought-after collector's car today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content.
I was just about to close my laptop. I really was. The screen was dimming, my hand was on the mouse, and I had already said goodnight to the room. But then I saw the title, 15 Unknown GM Muscle Cars of the 1980s, and I stopped. I stopped because I grew up in the 80s, not as a car person, not really. But I remember the cars. I remember the shapes, the sounds, the way they looked in parking lots and driveways and school pickup lines. I remember thinking that cars in the 80s looked different from the cars in the 70s. Boxier, straighter, more angles, and fewer curves. I remember my dad talking about how the muscle car was dead, how the gas crisis killed it, how the emissions regulations strangled it, how the insurance companies buried it. He said the 60s were the golden age, the 70s were the hangover, and the 80s? The 80s were the dark ages. But this video promised something else. It promised unknown muscle cars, hidden gems, sleepers from a decade that everyone forgot. So I clicked. And now here I am, hours later, because this video just took me on a journey I didn't know I needed. A journey back to the 80s. Back to the days of big hair and bigger shoulder pads. Back to the days of cassette tapes and MTV and cars that tried to be fast when the world was telling them to be slow. Let me tell you about it. Let me walk you through it. Every single minute of it. The video starts with a montage. 80s footage. Grainy, warm. The kind of footage that makes you feel nostalgic for a time you may not have even lived through. You see big hair. You see leg warmers. You see members-only jackets. You see arcades with Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. You see gas stations with prices that seem impossibly cheap now. You see cars. Lots of cars. Boxes on wheels. Wedges on wheels. Cars with pop-up headlights that made you feel like you were in a spaceship when they opened. Cars with digital dashboards that glowed green and red and orange. Cars with louvers on the back windows and ground effects on the sides, and wheels that were smaller than anything you see today. And then the video cuts to a garage A real garage, not a fancy one. The kind with oil stains on the concrete floor, and old calendars on the wall, and tools scattered on every surface. A man is standing there. He's wearing a denim jacket with a patch on the sleeve. He has a mustache, the kind of mustache that screams 80s. He has grease on his hands and a smile on his face. And he starts talking. He says everybody thinks the 80s were a dead zone for muscle cars. Everybody thinks that the gas crisis killed the party, and the emissions regulations buried the body. And they're not wrong. Not completely. The 60s were the golden age. The 70s were the hangover. But the 80s? The 80s were the underground. The 80s were the secret handshake. The 80s were the decade when the engineers got creative because they had to. They couldn't make big power the old way. They couldn't just shove a big block into a small car and call it a day. The rules had changed. The game had changed. So they changed too. They got sneaky. They got clever. They started using turbochargers and fuel injection and computers and all kinds of technology that didn't exist in the 60s. And they built cars that were fast in a different way. Cars that could handle, cars that could stop, cars that could turn, cars that could do more than just go fast in a straight line. And most people don't know about them. Most people have forgotten. But I haven't. And neither have the other people who were there. The people who were paying attention. The people who knew where to look. I leaned in closer to my screen. Because I love secrets. I love hidden things. I love the idea that there were muscle cars in the 80s that I never knew about. Cars that my dad never told me about. Cars that the magazines and the documentaries and the car shows ignore. I love the idea that the 80s were not a dead zone, but a hiding place. A decade when the good stuff was buried under layers of bad styling and bad timing and bad press. And this man was going to dig it up for me. The video cuts to the first car. It's a hatchback. Small, box, unassuming. It looks like something a college student would drive to class. Something a pizza delivery driver would use to make ends meet. Something you would never look at twice. The man says, "This is the first car, and it's the perfect example of an 80s sleeper. It looks like nothing. It looks like an economy car. It looks like it has maybe 100 horsepower. Maybe 120 if you're generous, but it doesn't. It has a turbocharger. A turbocharger from the factory in a little hatchback in the 80s. And that turbocharger takes this little Econobox and turns it into something else. Something faster. Something meaner. Something that will surprise you. Something that will embarrass you if you're not careful." I looked at the car on the screen. It was so ordinary, so beige, so forgettable. And underneath the hood, hidden like a secret, was a turbocharger. A little spinny thing that takes air and squeezes it and shoves it into the engine and makes power out of nothing, makes speed out of thin air. That's the magic of turbochargers. That's the magic of 80s engineering. They couldn't make big engines, so they made small engines angry. The man says, the engineers who built this car knew what they were doing. They knew that nobody would expect it. They knew that the car would fly under the radar. They knew that it would be ignored by the magazines and the car shows and the collectors. And that was the point. That was the beauty of it. It wasn't for everyone. It was for the people who knew. The people who did their homework. The people who read the obscure car magazines and the forums and the brochures that nobody else bothered to read. It was a secret handshake. And if you were in the club, you knew. If you saw another one of these cars on the road, you nodded. You knew. You were family. You were part of something. Something that nobody else understood. I thought about that. About secret clubs and hidden knowledge. About the pleasure of being in on the joke. About the thrill of knowing something that other people don't know. That's what these cars were. They were secrets. They were inside jokes. They were winks across the parking lot. And in the 80s, before the internet made everything accessible, before you could Google anything in 2 seconds, secrets were precious. Secrets were currency. Secrets were how you showed that you were in the know, that you were a real enthusiast, that you weren't just a poser. The video cuts to the second car. It's a coupe. 2 doors. Pop-up headlights. It looks sporty, but not too sporty. It looks like something a young professional might drive to work. The man says, this car had a V6, but not just any V6, a turbocharged V6, in a small coupe. In the 80s, that was rare, that was special. That was the kind of engine you expected to find in a European sports car, not in an American coupe. But they did it. They put that engine in this car, and the result was something that could hang with the best from Europe and Japan, something that could embarrass cars that cost twice as much, something that nobody saw coming. I imagine driving that car, the pop-up headlights flipping up with a mechanical whir, the turbo spooling up with a high-pitched whine, the car lunging forward, pressing me back into the seat. The surprised faces of the people in the other cars, the ones who thought they were looking at something ordinary. That's the magic of sleepers. They humble you. They remind you that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a car by its badge or its shape or its paint color. You can't judge anything by how it looks on the outside. The man says the 80s were a weird time for GM. On one hand, they were struggling. They were losing market share to the imports. They were being criticized for building boring cars. They were being called out for their lack of innovation. But on the other hand, they had some of the best engineers in the world. Engineers who loved cars. Engineers who loved driving. Engineers who refused to give up on performance, even when the company was telling them to focus on fuel economy and emissions and safety. And those engineers, they found ways. They found loopholes. They found opportunities. They took the boring cars, the cars that nobody paid attention to, and they put the good stuff inside. They put the big engines, the stiff suspensions, the upgraded brakes, the turbochargers, the fuel injection. And they kept the outside boring. They kept the steel wheels and the cloth seats and the beige paint. Because they knew that car enthusiasts would find them. They knew that the people who cared would do their research. They knew that the sleepers would become legends. And they were right. The video cuts to the third car. It's a sedan. 4 doors, box, conservative. The kind of car that your grandfather would drive to church. The kind of car that your high school principal would park in the reserved spot. The kind of car that looks like it has never been over the speed limit in its entire life. The man says this is the ultimate sleeper, because it's a 4-door sedan. It has 4 doors, it has a trunk, it has room for the family, and the groceries and the luggage. It looks like it has no business being fast. It looks like it should be passed on the highway by everything else on the road. But it's not slow. It's not slow at all. It has a V8. A V8 in a 4-door sedan in the 80s, and not a small V8. A big V8. The kind of V8 that was designed for muscle cars. The kind of V8 that makes a sound that you feel in your chest. The kind of V8 that pushes you back in your seat when you step on the gas. And it's rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive in a family sedan. From the factory, in the 80s. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe it. I looked at the car on the screen. It was so ordinary, so beige, so forgettable. And underneath the hood, hidden like a monster in a closet, was a V8. A big, rumbling American V8. The kind of engine that defined the muscle car era. The kind of engine that was supposed to be dead. The kind of engine that the experts said would never come back. But here it was, hiding in a 4-door sedan, waiting for someone to press the gas pedal, waiting to wake up. The man laughs. He says, that's the thing about these cars. They're not for everyone. They're not for the people who want attention. They're not for the people who want to be seen. They're not for the people who want to park at the car show and open the hood and let everyone admire their engine. They're for the people who want to drive, who want to feel the road, who want the thrill of acceleration without the hassle of being noticed. They're for the introverts of the car world, the people who love driving but hate the spotlight, the people who would rather be underestimated than overexposed. And in the 80s, there were a lot of those people. And the car companies built cars for them, cars that were fast but discreet, cars that were capable but humble, cars that were everything you wanted and nothing you expected. The video cuts to the 4th car. It's a wagon, a station wagon, wood paneling on the sides, Fake wood. The kind that looked like it belonged in a suburban driveway next to a minivan. The kind that your mom would drive to the grocery store. The kind that had a third-row seat that faced backwards so you could wave at the cars behind you. The man says, "This is the car that nobody expects. A wagon. A station wagon. With wood paneling. With roof rails. With room for the dog and the kids and the luggage. It has no business being fast. None. But underneath that wood paneling, underneath that boring exterior, is an engine that will blow your mind. An engine that was designed for sports cars. An engine that could push this wagon to 60 miles per hour in less than 7 seconds. 7 seconds. In a wagon. In the 80s. That was faster than most sports cars. Faster than Porsches. Faster than Ferraris. Faster than anything with 2 seats and a pedigree. And nobody knew. Because who would suspect a wagon? Who would look at a wagon and think, that thing is fast? Nobody. That's who. And that's why it's a sleeper. That's why it's one of my favorites. I laughed, because I remember those wagons. I remember sitting in the back of one, facing backwards, watching the road disappear behind me. I remember the smell of the cloth seats, and the sound of the radio playing something my parents liked. I remember thinking that it was the most boring car in the world. And now I find out that underneath that boring exterior was a beast, a monster, a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I never knew. I never suspected, because I was a kid. Because I didn't care about engines, or horsepower, or quarter-mile times. But the adults who knew, they looked at that wagon and they smiled. They knew the secret. They were in on the joke. They were part of the club. The man says, you have to understand the context. In the 80s, wagons were not cool. Wagons were what your parents drove. Wagons were what you got when you couldn't afford a minivan or an SUV. Wagons were the punchline of jokes. And that's exactly why GM put a performance engine in this one. Because nobody would suspect it. Because nobody would look twice. Because it was the perfect disguise. The perfect cover. The perfect sleeper. You could drive this wagon to work every day, and nobody would know that you were driving something special. Nobody would know that you could beat almost anything on the road. It was your secret, your private thrill, your hidden joy. The video cuts to the 5th car. It's a coupe again, but smaller, more aggressive, more angular. The man says, this car had a turbocharger and all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive. In a small coupe. In the 80s, that was unheard of. All-wheel drive was for trucks and SUVs and rally cars, not for little coupes. But this one had it, and it was brilliant. It gave you traction in the rain, and the snow, and the dry pavement. It let you put all that power down without spinning the wheels. It made you feel like a hero in a car that looked like nothing special. A hero that nobody expected. A hero that could take corners at speeds that would make other cars lose control. I imagined driving that car on a curvy road. The all-wheel drive pulling me through the turns. The turbocharger spooling up as I exited the corner. The feeling of being connected to the road in a way that front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive could never match. That's the magic of all-wheel drive. It makes you feel invincible. It makes you feel like you can do anything. And in the 80s, that was rare. That was special. That was something that only a handful of cars had. The man says, the problem with these cars is that they're hard to find now. They're rare. They're collectible. People have figured out the secret. People know what these cars are capable of. So the prices have gone up. The cars that used to be dirt cheap are now expensive. The cars that used to be overlooked are now sought after. The sleepers are awake, and that's a shame. Because the magic of a sleeper is being underestimated, being overlooked, being the underdog, and when everyone knows, when everyone understands, the magic fades. It's not a secret anymore. It's just another fast car. Just another collectible. Just another thing that people want. I felt a little sad hearing that, because I love underdogs. I love the things that nobody notices. The quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the ones that have something special hidden inside. And when they get discovered, when they get famous, when they become popular, Something is lost. Something precious. Something that can never be recovered. Something that only existed when they were unknown. The video cuts to the sixth car. It's a convertible. 2 seats, no roof. The kind of car that you drive on a summer evening with the top down and the radio up. The man says, "This is the surprise. A convertible." In the 80s, convertibles were rare. They had almost disappeared. There were safety concerns, rollover concerns, structural concerns. But GM brought them back, and they put a turbocharged engine in this one. A turbocharged engine in a convertible, with a manual transmission, a stick shift. The kind of car that purists love, the kind of car that makes you feel like you're part of something, the kind of car that connects you to the road in a way that automatic transmissions never can. I imagine driving that car on a warm night, the top down, the wind in my hair, the stars above, the sound of the turbos spooling up and the exhaust note and the tires gripping the pavement. That's freedom. That's what convertibles are about. Freedom. And to have a turbocharged engine in that convertible, to have that extra power, that extra excitement, that extra thrill, that's something special. That's something worth remembering. The man says, the 80s were not a dead zone. They were a hiding place. They were a decade when the good stuff was buried under layers of bad styling and bad timing and bad press. But it was there. You just had to look. You just had to know where to look. You just had to be willing to dig. And if you did, if you took the time, you found cars like these. Cars that were fast. Cars that were fun. Cars that were forgotten. Cars that deserved to be remembered. The video cuts to the 7th car. It's a sedan again, but bigger, more luxurious, leather seats, wood trim, the kind of car that executives drive to meetings, the kind of car that has a quiet, refined, dignified presence. The man says, "This is the luxury sleeper. It looks like it's for people who value comfort over speed. It looks like it's for people who want a smooth ride and a quiet cabin and a back seat that their clients will appreciate." But underneath that leather and wood is a beast, an engine that was built for the Autobahn, an engine that could push this heavy sedan to speeds that would get you arrested in most countries. And the best part? It's quiet. It's smooth. You don't hear the engine. You don't feel the speed. You just look down at the speedometer and realize you're going way, way faster than you thought. It coddles you while it breaks the law. It comforts you while it terrifies everyone else. I thought about that, about being in a quiet, comfortable, leather-lined cabin, listening to classical music on the radio, sipping coffee from a thermos, and realizing that you're going 100 miles an hour without even noticing. That's terrifying, and wonderful, and exactly the kind of thing that only a sleeper can do. I was just about to close my laptop. I really was. The screen was dimming, my hand was on the mouse, and I had already said goodnight to the room. But then I saw the title again. A different video, same topic, 15 unknown GM muscle cars of the 1980s. I thought I had already seen it. I thought I already knew the secrets. But something told me to click. Something told me that there was more. There was always more. Because the 80s were deeper than I thought. The forgotten cars were more numerous than I imagined. The stories were richer than I expected. So I pressed play. And now here I am, hours later, because this video took me on another journey. A different journey. A journey through the back alleys and forgotten corners of the decade that everyone loves to hate. Let me tell you about it. Let me walk you through it. Every single minute of it. The video starts differently this time. No montage. No flashy graphics. Just a quiet street. A suburban street. Trees. Mailboxes. Driveways. The kind of street where nothing ever happens. The kind of street where people wave at their neighbors and mow their lawns on Saturdays. And then you see it. A car. Parked in a driveway. Covered in dust. Covered in leaves. Covered in the neglect of decades. It's a coupe. 2 doors. Wedge-shaped. Pop-up headlights. The paint is faded. The tires are flat. The windows are grimy. It looks dead. It looks forgotten. It looks like it should be scrapped. And then a man walks into the frame. He's older. Gray hair. Wrinkled hands. He's wearing a mechanic's shirt with a name patch over the pocket. He looks at the car the way you look at an old friend, with love, with memory, with a little bit of sadness. He says, "This car has been sitting here for 20 years. 20 years. My neighbor bought it new in 1987, drove it for a few years, loved it. Then, life happened. Kids happened. A minivan happened. And this car just sat. Every year he said he was going to fix it up. Every year he said he was going to get it running again. But he never did. And now he's gone. And the car is still here, waiting. And I look at it every day. And I remember what it was like when it was new. I remember how fast it was, how special, how nobody understood, how nobody appreciated it. And now it's just sitting here. A ghost, a memory, a reminder of a time when GM still took risks. I felt that, in my chest, because I've seen cars like that. Cars that were once loved and then abandoned. Cars that sit in driveways and backyards and barns, slowly returning to the earth. Cars that have stories that no one will ever hear. And this man, this neighbor, he was going to tell me one of those stories. The video cuts to a garage, a different garage from the first video. This one is cleaner, more organized, tools on pegboards, a lift in the center, a car on the lift. The man from the driveway is now in the garage. He's pointing at the car on the lift. It's a coupe, sleek, black, low. It looks fast. Even sitting still, it looks fast. He says, "This is the car that started it all for me. My first GM muscle car from the 80s. I bought it used in 1992. Nobody wanted it. The dealer couldn't give it away. It had been on the lot for months, and I walked past it every day on my way to work. And every day I looked at it, and every day I thought, why doesn't anyone want you? And then one day I test drove it, and I understood. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't luxurious, it wasn't comfortable. The seats were hard, the ride was rough, the interior was cheap plastic. But when I pressed the gas pedal, when the turbo spooled up, when the car lunged forward, I forgot about all of that. I forgot about the hard seats and the rough ride and the cheap plastic, because this car was fast. Not fast for its time, fast, period. It could keep up with cars that cost 3 times as much. It could embarrass cars that had twice the cylinders. And nobody knew, nobody suspected, because it looked like nothing, because it was a forgotten car from a forgotten era. He walked around the car, touched the fender, the hood, the door handle, like he was greeting an old friend. He says, "I've owned this car for over 30 years. 30 years. I've rebuilt the engine twice, replaced the transmission once, reupholstered the seats, painted it 3 times. And every time I drive it, every time I feel that turbo spool up, I smile. I smile like I did the first time. Because this car is not just a car. It's a time machine. It takes me back to the 80s. To the big hair and the bad music and the good times. To a time when I was young and stupid and didn't know any better. To a time when I thought I would live forever. And this car reminds me that I didn't, that none of us do, that the best we can do is enjoy the ride while we're on it." I wiped my eyes. I didn't even know I was crying, but there were tears on my face, because this man was not just talking about a car. He was talking about life, about memory, about the things we hold on to, about the things we refuse to let go, about the things that matter, even when no one else understands why. The video cuts to the first car of this new list. It's a sedan, 4 doors, box, conservative, the kind of car that looks like it belongs in a funeral procession. The man says, this sedan had a secret. Under the hood, hidden under a plastic cover, was a V8. And not just any V8. A V8 with fuel injection. Fuel injection. In a sedan. In the 80s. That was advanced. That was cutting edge. That was the kind of technology that you expected to find in German luxury cars, not in an American sedan. But GM put it there. And they didn't tell anyone. They didn't advertise it. They didn't put a badge on the trunk. They just let it be a secret. A secret for the people who knew. A secret for the people who looked. A secret for the people who cared. I looked at the sedan on the screen. It was so ordinary, so beige, so forgettable. And underneath the hood, hidden like a treasure, was a fuel-injected V8. Technology that was years ahead of its time. Technology that made the engine more efficient, more powerful, more reliable. Technology that the Germans charged a fortune for. And GM put it in a sedan that nobody wanted. That's the 80s for you. That's GM for you. Brilliant engineers, terrible marketing. Hidden gems. The man says, the problem with GM in the 80s was that they didn't know how to sell these cars. They didn't know how to tell the story. They didn't know how to make people understand what they had built. So the cars sat on the lots, and the dealers discounted them, and the customers ignored them, and eventually they were forgotten. But the people who bought them, the people who took a chance, they knew. They knew they had something special, something that nobody else understood, something that would never be appreciated. And they were okay with that, because they weren't driving for appreciation. They were driving for joy. The video cuts to the second car. It's a coupe, 2 doors, pop-up headlights. It looks sporty, but not too sporty. The man says, this coupe had a manual transmission, a 5-speed manual, in a car that looked like it was made for old people. A stick shift, a clutch pedal, a shifter that you had to actually move with your hand. And that manual transmission transformed the car. It made it fun. It made it engaging. It made it feel like a sports car, even though it looked like a grandpa car. Because when you're shifting your own gears, when you're deciding when to upshift and when to downshift, when you're heel-toeing into a corner, you're not just driving, you're participating, you're connected, you're one with the machine. And that's something that an automatic transmission can never give you. I thought about that, about the joy of a manual transmission, the feeling of the clutch engaging, the sound of the engine as you rev it, the satisfaction of a perfect shift. It's a dying art, a disappearing skill, a thing that young people will never know. And in the 80s, it was already becoming rare. But GM put it in this coupe, this forgotten coupe, this car that nobody wanted, and the people who bought it, they understood. They knew that a manual transmission was not just a way to change gears, it was a way to connect, to feel, to be alive. The man says driving a manual transmission is like playing an instrument. The car is your instrument, the road is your sheet music, and every shift is a note, every corner is a phrase, every straightaway is a crescendo, and when you get it right, when you hit that perfect downshift into a corner, when you power out of the apex with the engine screaming, it's beautiful, it's art, it's music, and you can't get that from an automatic. You just can't. The video cuts to the third car. It's a wagon again, but different from the first video. This one is dark blue, no wood paneling, just clean lines, practical, sensible, the kind of car you would use to take your kids to soccer practice. The man says, this wagon had a feature that nobody talks about. Rear-wheel drive, in a wagon. In the 80s, when most wagons were front-wheel drive, when most wagons were designed for safety and economy and nothing else, GM kept this wagon rear-wheel drive. Because rear-wheel drive is better for handling, better for acceleration, better for driving dynamics. And they didn't have to do it. Nobody was asking for it. Nobody was demanding it, but the engineers wanted it, so they did it. And the result is a wagon that drives like a sports sedan, a wagon that can turn, a wagon that can stop, a wagon that can accelerate, a wagon that is fun to drive, a wagon that has no business being fun, but it is. It really is. I imagine driving that wagon, the rear wheels pushing me through the corners, the balance, the poise, the way the car rotates when you lift off the throttle. That's the magic of rear-wheel drive. It's not just for sports cars, it's for anyone who loves to drive. And GM put it in a wagon, a forgotten wagon, a car that nobody remembers. But the people who drove it, they remember. They remember every corner, every straightaway, every smile. The man says, the 80s were a transitional time for GM. They were moving from the old ways to the new ways, from carburetors to fuel injection, from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive, from big blocks to small blocks, from V8s to V6s. And in that transition, they built some weird cars, some strange cars, some cars that don't fit into any category, some cars that are hard to explain. And those are the ones I love, the ones that don't make sense, the ones that shouldn't exist, the ones that are the product of engineers who refuse to follow the rules. The video cuts to the fourth car. It's a coupe again, but this one has T-tops, removable roof panels, the kind of car that you drive on a summer night with the tops off and the stars above. The man says T-tops were big in the 80s. Every sports car had them. Every coupe had them. They were cool. They were fun. They were a way to get a convertible experience without the structural compromises of a true convertible. But it also had something else. A turbocharged engine. A turbocharged, fuel-injected, intercooled engine. The kind of engine that was state-of-the-art. The kind of engine that could make over 200 horsepower. In the 80s. 200 horsepower. That was a lot. That was serious. That was enough to embarrass a lot of cars. And it came with T-tops. So you could feel the wind in your hair while you were smoking the tires. That's the 80s. That's the dream. That's the magic. I smiled, because I remember T-tops. I remember sitting in the back of a friend's car, the tops off, the wind whipping through my hair, the radio playing something loud and stupid. I remember feeling like I was part of something, like I was cool, like I was living the life. And now I find out that some of those cars had turbocharged engines underneath, that they were fast, that they were special, that I was riding in sleepers and didn't even know it. The man laughs. He says, "That's the thing about these cars. They looked like fun, they were fun, but they were also fast. Faster than anyone expected. Faster than the magazines gave them credit for. Faster than the owners even knew, most of the time. Because the owners weren't driving them hard. They were just cruising, just enjoying the T-tops and the radio and the summer nights. But the people who knew, the people who pushed them, they found out. They found out that these cars had teeth, that they could bite, that they could surprise you. And that's what made them special." The video cuts to the fifth car. It's a sedan again, but this one is black. Dark windows, low-profile tires. It looks mean. Even sitting still, it looks mean. The man says, "This sedan was a police car, an undercover police car, the kind that the highway patrol used to catch speeders, and it was perfect for the job, because it looked like nothing. It looked like a regular sedan, the kind you see 1,000 times a day. But under the hood it had a V8, a high-output V8, the kind that could push this heavy sedan to over 140 miles per hour. And it had upgraded suspension, upgraded brakes, upgraded cooling, upgraded everything. It was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a predator in disguise. And the speeders never saw it coming. They would fly past, thinking they were safe, and then they would see the lights in their rear-view mirror. And by then, it was too late. They were caught." I laughed, because I've been that speeder. I've been the one who thought I was safe, who thought I was clever, who thought I had beaten the system. And then I saw the lights, and I realized I wasn't as clever as I thought. And now I know that some of those cars were sleepers, special cars built for one purpose, to catch people like me. And I can't even be mad, because it's brilliant. It's perfect. It's the ultimate sleeper. The man says, "These police sedans are some of the most sought-after cars today, because they're rare, because they're fast, because they have history, because they did something that no other car could do. They caught the unwary, they humbled the arrogant. They reminded us that you can't judge a book by its cover, that the most dangerous car on the road might be the one that looks like nothing, that the wolf is always watching, that the sheep's clothing is just a disguise."